2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
How do you define what a sex addiction is?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
I don't know what's going on, man.
Not much. Had a couple things I was going to ask you about.
You always ask these random questions, man. I'm a little scared every time you ask now.
No, this one is just, I don't know if it's a question as much as it's more just I need to make a comment.
Okay.
So I made biscuits and gravy yesterday. It was like a rainy Sunday morning, just like the sausage sizzling and biscuits and gravy. It was like, my son woke up and he's like, "Whoa, I woke up to heaven." And, but it made me think of your wife's biscuits and gravy. I have no words.
She does make some really good biscuits and gravy. She takes pride in that.
She she's from Georgia. She puts like Southern love into her biscuit. I can't do it. Like, I was eating mine and I was like, these are good.
I love good biscuits and gravy.
This. Oh man.
We had, it's funny, we had, with somebody else, we had some friends over one time and she gave them like Southern food, made biscuits and gravy and a whole bunch of other Southern food. And they had little kids, and they went the very next morning. This little kid, he's like a 6-year-old little kid, wakes up and he's saying his morning prayers with his parents. And he's like, "Thank you for letting me dream of Rhiannon's biscuits."
That sounds kind of funny.
I know. I got a big laugh out of that one.
I love it.
The little kid went to bed dreaming of my wife's biscuits.
He's not the only one. He's not the only one. That might be weird to say about your sister-in-law, but I dream about her biscuits like from scratch. It's just I can't.
She does a really good job on those.
Yeah.
So, well, good, man.
Yeah,
that's a great thing to have on a Sunday morning.
Yeah. Just I was thinking about it, and I thought I'd tell you how awesome her biscuits and gravy are. So
yeah. Thanks, man.
Should we get into the topic?
Yeah.
Okay. We have a couple of good questions, right?
Yeah, we're gonna hit the question that we just put on the title, and then we'll also throw in a bonus question today. We got 2 people that submitted questions this week that we thought we could hit today. So do you want me to just read the question first, Brannon, on this one?
Yeah, let's just take one at a time.
Okay. So, this one says, I love your podcast and listen religiously. I'm curious, how is porn addiction identified and, for a lack or of a better word, diagnosed? My husband, whom I recently separated from, watches up to 2 hours of porn a day and has had meaningless sexual encounters with strangers for the past 4 years. He recently began therapy, and the therapist told him that he was not a sex addict. I was hopeful you could address what constitutes a sex addict on your podcast sometime. Thank you so much.
Um, Maybe his therapist is a sex addict.
Maybe.
I'm just
Maybe.
kidding. I'm just kidding. But seriously, like 2 hours a day, acting out with meaningless sex with strangers. I don't. I'd have to do a bit more of an assessment, but yeah, there's enough there to really start to go down the road of sex addiction.
Yeah, I think there's a couple thoughts that kind of come up with this that might be a little broader than the question, but we can get into the question as well. In our world, Brannon, I run into this a lot. I think you probably do too. It seems that there's some kind of a stigma around whether or not you label yourself as an addict or having an addiction,
Yeah.
right? People really seem to feel strongly one way or the other about whether or not I have a quote addiction.
Well,
And
Tyler, there's a reason, right?
I
I
think
mean,
so.
it's in the culture of recovery. I mean, 12 step bakes that in pretty heavily. To, that's like step one. Um, and so like they kind of beat that drum of like, and they try to remove the shame from it of I'm an addict, but it's okay to call yourself an addict. What's wrong with that, right?
Right.
But the whole premise behind step one is call a spade a spade. Be honest with yourself about what it is. And so I think there's this like thing where it's like if you have an addiction and you don't call yourself an addict, then you're in denial that you have an addiction.
Yeah, or you're downplaying. And that's the sense I'm getting from this question. It's like it doesn't really matter if we're calling it an addiction or not. It's that it feels like the partner here is downplaying the behavior in order to not take ownership for the fact that there's maybe a significant problem here.
if if he has compulsive behavior that's driving him to do this and he's powerless and his life is unmanageable, let's say if he has that, or if he doesn't have that and he's acting out with porn 2 hours a day and sleeping with strangers, he's still acting out with porn 2 hours a day and sleeping with strangers. That's
Right.
an issue. That's a problem in a healthy relationship. That's an issue, right? Now,
Right.
I think it is important to distinguish like am I actually dealing with this mental illness? Am I dealing with addiction here? Or am I just choosing to go be a jack A and do this, right?
Right.
Maybe there's a better way to say that,
Well,
but
yeah.
you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. I think I understand what you're saying.
So yeah, it's important to call a spade a spade. It's important, I think, to really get down to what it is. But the consequences of behavior are still there, whether you call it X or Y.
I think where you were getting to, Brandon, and this is the important part for most people, is that there's kind of a if let's just define addiction first. An addiction, the lots of different forms of the definition of addiction, but the one that we tend to lean to is where you go to the use of a substance or a behavior to increase pleasure or decrease pain, and you do so even when it's to your own detriment, and you continue to keep doing it. And your life maybe has become unmanageable in some way.
That was a lot. Like,
Yeah.
like break that down a little bit. Like
You guys can pick any
second grade level us.
okay, pick any behavior. I do this thing even though it's not good for me and it's causing problems in my life, but I still keep going back to it.
Okay. So let me throw some scenarios, examples out there and see if this fits. I watch TV really late every night and it makes my sleep suffer and I have fatigue every day, but I watch TV every night anyways, and I can't stop.
That's an addiction.
Okay. Um, I I'm on the brink of diabetes, and if a donut comes my way, I can't say no.
That's an addiction.
What if I just want a donut?
Well, you can have the donut. It's the fact that you can't say no and you're on the brink of diabetes that makes it more unmanageable, right?
I have cirrhosis, and my eyes are yellow, literally, and my belly is full of fluids. And the doctor says if I drink another beer, that I could definitely die. And I drink another beer.
That's an addiction.
Yeah.
That's a simple one.
Yeah.
What about maybe some more nuanced ones that our listeners aren't going to like hearing?
Ooh.
I just checked my digital well-being on my phone and I realized that I'm averaging 7 hours a day on screen time on my phone, and most of that is in social media. Is that yet an addiction?
I don't know yet. Let me just push back just a little bit. If my job is marketing on online and on social media, and after 7 hours, if I turn it off and I'm mindful with my kids and I hang out with them, and I don't feel this urge to go back, and I can actually stop, it's not an addiction,
That's right.
right?
What if you add to that your kids and wife are complaining that you're never available and you're always checked out?
Right. So that's like me not being able to turn it off, right? Where it's like, hey, they're trying, like, and no one can connect with me because I just got to see how many likes I got. We're starting to see some compulsion. We're starting to see some unmanageability, as a result. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we got to be careful to demonize screen time and stuff automatically, because it's the world we live in. I mean, here we are on a screen looking at each other right now, Tyler. We're going to spend the next few hours, on a screen, but we're doing important work. And so, but your point is, and the point that we're making is, whatever it is, the thing that you do, if you don't want to do it, but you do it anyways, and there's negative consequences to your life for doing it, you need to take a look at that. Right?
Right. Right.
It's compulsion.
So that would be in the realm of an addiction, right? When we call
Right.
it an addiction. Now, people don't like to call it addictions because it's like I'm labeling somebody and whatever else. When in reality, what we're getting to with this definition is I need to be intuitive enough in myself to start paying attention and realizing here's the three things that you really look for someone to take ownership and why they would call it an addiction. I have a problem. This is a serious problem, and I'm responsible to do something about it. And so, like in this person who submitted the question, maybe he's sitting at home going 2 hours a day. This is just my hobby, and then I just like casual sex, and so that's really not a problem for him until he's in a relationship that's supposed to have fidelity, and now he's got a partner who's feeling betrayed and misled, and of course he's been hiding, which also means there's something else going on there for him. Otherwise, he would just be, authentic with who he is. So he probably needs to come to a place of saying, "I got a problem, and it's a serious problem," i.e., addiction.
I mean, he doesn't need to, but if he doesn't do that, then the addiction will continue to
It's going to
progress.
continue to go
Yeah.
forward. Exactly.
Yeah.
Whether he calls it one or not.
Right. If it's an addiction, it will.
Right.
That's another marker of addiction, is the tolerance and it doesn't just stop. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm done with that. No, it keeps building and keeps growing, and sometimes really slow over time, sometimes rapidly.
Yeah, there's a pretty simple, easy test. Dr. Anna Lemke talks about this, who is the author of Dopamine Nation, talks about kind of gauging whether or not you have an addiction. Take whatever the behavior it is that you're in question about, and remove it from your life for an extended period of time, and then pay attention to what your responses are in your body and your brain, and whether or not you want to go back to it and how strongly you want to go back to it. So if you have an addiction, you're going to kind of have pieces of withdrawal where you're going to have that craving, those urges. You might even get physiological symptoms, tremors, shakes, tightness in the chest, irritability. When you remove those things for a period of time, and then after a period of time, they'll start to slowly decrease. That's an indicator of how deeply attached you are to whatever it is that you're trying to be in question over.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And it's a simple test. And most people who have an addiction, when you suggest that, they say they can do it, but then they won't do it.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so I think we overthink it, Tyler. Like I really do. Of course we have temptations, we have desires, we have those type of things. But just take whatever those things are, whatever gives you the dopamine hit. And if it becomes a compulsion that you can't control, you're probably dealing with some type of an addiction. And most people have some addictions. That's a reality in the world that we're living in right now. I mean, I don't know the percentage on this, but how many people do you think are addicted to sugar, Tyler?
That might be the biggest addiction in our country.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. I know I fall in that camp for sure.
Amen.
Like what you just said, if I were to remove that, I would get physical symptoms, and emotional symptoms as well of like, oh my gosh, how do I get through this week without my sugar? Right. Now, a lot of people don't admit that, and they just kind of stay in these addictions for a long time. One of the problems with certain addictions, and I think porn's an interesting one because it kind of falls into both. If you take like meth, you start using meth, it pretty quickly usually pushes you to some limits that are insane. You're staying up like 3 nights in a row, you're like, it's just nuts. Something like sugar or social media or even sex or porn can be the ones that kind of tend to play off of natural human behavior like sex or eating. There can be a slow burn in the addiction, and it can cause issues over time where you dabble here, you dabble there. The tolerance builds slowly, and it's slowly killing you.
But it doesn't seem like it's causing massive problems.
So it's easy to justify a little here and a little there because the blatant consequence, the rock bottom isn't in my face. I'm not that alcoholic with cirrhosis. It's not so obvious. And so then it can over time. So like, we talk about 2 hours of porn a day. Like, I don't know, everyone's different with their sexuality and those type of things. But to me, that sounds excessive. Like that sounds kind of crazy. Like 2 hours a day, that's a lot of porn.
Yeah.
But like to him, he might be looking at this and like, well, it used to be 3.5 hours and now I'm, 2 hours here, 2 hours there. It's not a big deal, like you can downplay it. And then over time, it can take your marriage from you. It can take so much from you.
Your self-respect.
Yeah.
Everything else.
Yep. So yes, it's problematic. Can I speak to another point to this question before we move on?
Sure.
If you are in denial about reality, then you will attract people and things into your life that will support you in that denial. Right, Tyler?
Yeah, exactly. You build your own little world around it.
Yeah, I'm not going to go I'm not going to go talk to friends about an issue that I don't want to face. I'm not going to go find a therapist who's going to actually confront me on my denial around my addiction. I'm going to go find a therapist who's actually going to talk to me about how crazy my wife is and tell me that I'm not an addict.
Yeah. How convenient.
So nice. Like they're there for me and they're helping me. right? And so like I think we all got to stop and check ourselves a little bit of like, okay, why do I get that help? Why do I attract that into my life? Why does that is it because of your denial, or is it because you're actually trying to get better?
I think that's the key question too. It really boils down to the individual asking a curious, honest question of, "Am I doing this to make me a better person, or am I doing this to stay stuck in a pattern?"
Exactly.
Yeah.
And honestly, Tyler, like that, this is one question that we don't know all the ins and outs, and who knows what's actually going on here. So before I totally throw this therapist under the bus, like maybe they're getting a totally different story.
Yeah.
Maybe they're hearing something completely different. I don't know.
Yeah. I would also just maybe add to this before we go to the next question, Brannon. You can hear the frustration in the question. There's two things I want to just
Yeah.
bring up. One is, how do you diagnose a sex addiction? And in our world, it's actually kind of difficult to do that, because I can already hear certain people saying, well, it's not even in the DSM. You can't even diagnose a sex addiction. It doesn't even have a billable code.
That's so dumb.
And
It's well, that could send me on a soapbox. Let's not do that.
I know, and I want to get on the soapbox for just 1 second about that for people,
Okay.
because I can hear
you might pull me up there.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
so just so we want to understand what happened with that in the last edition of the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Manual for Mental Health. It was actually up for being put into the manual, and it was left off with food addictions, but it included all sorts of other addictions. And the reason it was left off is because the pornography industry has a massive lobbying, arm, and they know that if it gets put into the DSM and there's now a diagnosable problem with it, that means there's going to be significant lawsuits, class action. To think about tobacco, what happened with tobacco. And so they're doing everything they can to keep that out of there. So we can round up 100 people in the next hour, Brannon, that would come forth and say, hey, this is addiction. Right.
Yeah.
And just because the world says it doesn't fit in the manual doesn't mean it's not there. It means there's other forces behind the scenes that are at work there. And you should think twice before you use that as an argument.
Yeah. Also, Tyler, like there's the other side of it, of insurance doesn't want it to be a diagnosable thing, because what do you know? Like all of a sudden
They're paying
this
out.
epidemic they're paying out for, and they don't want that to go in the DSM. So there's all these politics and all this like whatever going on with that. And the thing about it is, Tyler, there's two competing arguments of like sex addiction or not. And the ones that say sex addiction isn't a real thing are I actually think both extremes can't hold a dialectic. They can't. The one who say sex addiction is not a thing are the ones that are like, hey, your individual sexuality is yours and you get to explore that, and that's all it is. So just like, but like when we look at the definition of addiction, compulsive behavior over time that builds tolerance up, so you have to push new limits and your life becomes unmanageable. Sex absolutely fits within that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we can be sex positive and still believe in sex addiction at the same
That's
time.
right.
Both those things can happen.
That's right.
And so, yeah, the DSM, like there's too much there to even get into. It's just a bunch of crap. I'll be honest with you. Like it just like, whatever. I don't care what the DSM says on that. Like I don't. And like keep playing your politics, whatever you're doing with that. And like food addiction, same thing, right?
Yeah.
Think of the lobbying behind that one.
You just look at what's happening right now with everything going on with the new movements in politics right now. So
Yeah.
a lot of wrangling there.
Yeah. Anyway,
So the second part to this, back to the original question, then we'll go to this next question, is the person, the wife who just submitted this question, you can hear the frustration. You don't need for him to say he's got an addiction to still move forward with making your own choices and keeping your own boundaries and treating it as you see it and as you feel it.
ooh, you just said something
Right.
really important.
What?
But, well, I mean, the way like the question is asked, like, what about him and shouldn't he own this and all of this stuff? And you just did something that is like because you're an awesome therapist who cares about people getting better, but also not fun to hear. Is it doesn't matter if he claims it as an addiction or not. Your recovery is yours, and you get to move forward.
If he, yeah, I mean, what it does do is it gives you data that you get to make decisions off of.
Yeah,
And so if you're watching a partner that's looking at porn twice a day and having casual sex with people and unwilling to take accountability for it, you don't need to wait to hear him say I'm an addict to go, ah, this probably isn't going to fly for me.
in fact, even more so, Tyler. It's like not only is he struggling with an addiction, he's also in denial about struggling with an addiction, which means that you better amp up your recovery and do what you need to do for you, because you're not only in a marriage or relationship with somebody with an addiction, you're in a relationship with someone with an addiction who's in denial about it. Right.
Right.
So instead of sitting back and being like, well, if only he would own it and work his recovery, then like we'd get better. That's not gonna like that. Even if he owns it and works his recovery, you still have to work your recovery. So
Yeah.
either way, working your recovery is your best option.
Yeah. When it sounds like in the question, I think she said she's now separated. And so it sounds like
She's probably working her recovery.
she's probably working some recovery. And it's probably a great question because it would be nice. I think what she's hoping for is some kind of validation of like, okay, like I'm reading this properly, but also she's maybe hoping that her husband would somehow hear the same thing and maybe see the light. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta say, I'm not saying that this person that asked this question is not working her recovery. I'm just making a point
right.
from that question.
Right. All right. Bonus question today, Brannon.
Ooh, can't wait. It's not about biscuits and gravy, is it?
It's no.
Dang it. My food addiction's coming out. Like,
Yeah. But my husband disclosed to me his quote addiction with pornography for the last 15 years. We will be married 15 years in July. My world came crashing down. He has been porn free, no urges, temptations, etc. for 30 plus days. He asked for forgiveness, asked Jesus into his heart, and is truly changed. I can see it, and he has given me access to everything. He is doing everything right. My trouble is with me. I cannot get images, locations, and things he has said out of my head. After his disclosure, we have become more connected to each other and more intimate than ever before. How can I move on mentally?
ooh, I have a lot to say here. Um, what's coming up for me is I've seen this so many times that where there's a honeymoon period once disclosure happens. It's like, whoa, I feel closer now to you. We have more sex, we have more intimacy, we're connected more because you opened up about something. Also, we talk about the hugging way in the fear cycle. I want to feel closer to you because it makes me feel safe, right? You've been married 15 years. He had an addiction to porn for 15 years. He had an addiction to porn longer than 15 years, I would say.
Most likely.
It probably started long before the marriage. Disclosure to you does not create recovery. Just because the cat got out of the bag doesn't mean that the issue isn't still there. And I hate to break that to you. I hate to be a bearer of bad news. I wish Jesus could come in and take away the addiction from everybody. And I've seen it happen where in the first few weeks, the person struggling with addiction is like, I'm motivated. I feel good. I feel out of my shame. This is so great. Like, I know Jesus is there. Like, that's wonderful. But there's still a process of healing that must take place. And in order for real long-term recovery to set in. And he can probably get some sobriety for a little while here because of the disclosure. But is he actually in recovery? Right? So that's what comes up for me first, Tyler, when I hear that question.
Yeah, which you didn't even speak to her original question with all of that. So,
Well, yeah, yeah.
but I thought some of the same things in reading the question, and maybe I would just add to what you're saying before we get to the actual question is this. Number one, hallelujah that he is approaching this with humility. Hallelujah that he's experiencing this change of heart. Like, nice that he's willing to go to work and that you're feeling safer with him because his energy is different and you feel that there's a sincerity there. That's awesome. And that's the stuff that you will lean into. What I would say is that for most people, sometimes it's true. Like somebody just kind of has this like moment and it's like a bam, it just changes them. But even in those things, then the lives that they go and build afterwards also kind of show that that change of heart is there, right? So you watch for that change of heart to continually be there. And I would just say, plan on it being a little bit of a roller coaster if you're like most people. Thank goodness there's the humility, there's the accountability, there's the work, there's the lack of urges on his part. That may or may not stay. I would suspect that that's going to change over time, and there will be some harder days than other days with feelings and urges and triggers because that's a human thing that most people deal with. But if that's met with openness, with work, with transparency, then you're fine. You're on the right path, and good for you. That's great. Please take it a day at a time. People like to think of it as a black or white, all or nothing. Like we weren't in recovery, and then lightning struck, and now we're in recovery, and we're all better. And most people, it's more of like, man, I was in the darkness of my denial and addiction, and now I'm pulling out of that, and I'm realizing there could be this world of recovery. And today I'm mostly in recovery, and tomorrow I'm mostly in recovery, and every day after I'm mostly in recovery. And there might be a few struggles and blips along the way, but I'm committed to figuring this out. And that process orientation is going to work better for most people. So even if the miracle happened, embrace it as a process rather than as an all or nothing.
Yeah, I agree, Tyler. That's it. The not approaching her actual question. I think her actual question is a great question, but I think both of us are picking up on, "Gall, everything's better now. Why can't I just let go of this and then we could totally be better, right?"
Yeah.
And the reality is you're starting the process. You're not completing the process. But starting the process is good. You're in a good place,
Yes, for sure.
right? I think about like when I get out of a cold plunge and how do you feel right when you get out?
Kind of have that like almost high. You feel
Euphoria, right?
Yeah.
It's like you get out, you do something hard, you feel for me, Tyler, I feel really good for about 5 minutes, and then the shivers start. And then I'm like, my bones are cold. Right. And I have to go through this full process of figuring out how to warm my body up as a result of doing that hard thing. So even though I felt that euphoria, it was kind of short lived. And then it was like, hey, now I got to do something to actually really shift this. It's the same principle. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, yeah, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. This isn't bad news.
It's not bad news.
No.
It's not. But I think what we're both keying in on here is that we've seen too many people go through this where it's like the miracle has happened 30 days in, we're in absolute recovery,
I've
and then
seen it so many times.
boom, the shoe drops, and they're like, "What the heck? Like Jesus let him down or whatever." And it's like, well, maybe, or maybe this was a part of the process, and we should be grateful for that part, and we'll embrace the next part that comes.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why you and I both keyed in on that, Brannon, is that we actually don't want her
Yeah.
to get burned here.
Yeah.
What she's experiencing is probably within the realm of normal to have those kinds of thoughts and feelings and images still come up. And if she tries to hurry and smack him down and be like, "I shouldn't feel this way, he's already in recovery," there's maybe a different way of approaching those things.
Right.
It's going to be more effective for her and probably for their marriage too.
Right. Yep. There's an undertone to this question, Tyler, of sobriety being the answer. So, and also disclosure. So like I disclosed and now I'm 30 days sober. Everything's better. But this dude for 15 years in a marriage, and probably long before that, he's a Christian man in a committed relationship where acting out in this way is not okay. He's doing it in secret. Imagine the depths of shame and self-rejection and feelings that he's had over 15 years, right?
Right.
It doesn't just take sobriety and disclosure to just pop that out. Wing, done. No, it takes a full process of understanding who he is, finding some forgiveness for himself, knowing that he's okay regardless. But it's a process. So now her question is actually still a really good question,
Great
because
question.
we deal with that a lot. Usually, the first 30 days, I would say right now, it's normal for you to think about where he was and what he was doing and what he was looking at, and that it's normal for you to ruminate there some in these early stages. But Tyler, we hear a lot like where partners fixate and
That's right.
there's anxiety, they can't let things go. It lasts for a long, long time, right? And so what would you say to that?
Right. So this is what the original question was, and here's one thought for that. You're going to have those things come up, and the problem isn't that they come up. The problem is when we get stuck on the rumination of it. And so what you can do is people will get stuck in the rumination, and then they catch themselves ruminating. They're like, "Oh, I'm bad. I shouldn't think about this. I should hurry and get rid of this thought, or I should let it go, or I'm ruining my marriage because he's in recovery." Like, it's like the other way. There's another pathway that tends to work more effectively over time, and this is an exercise that you can do every time it comes up. So you have a bubbling up of emotions that comes from whatever the trigger is that goes through your mind, the image that you see, or the place that you go by, or whatever else. Most people will start to avoid all of that and be afraid of it. But what if you actually, when you went by that place and you drove by it and it all bubbled up inside of you, instead you followed some kind of a pattern like this, where you went into your body first and said, what is this trigger like in my body? Where do I actually feel it? Well, there's this thought rolling around in my head, and there's this tightness in my cheeks, and there's this like churning in my chest and like a sickness to my stomach. Okay. What's that emotion or set of emotions? Oh, I'm feeling like fearful and angry and unstable again. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm feeling. And I'm noticing that it's attached to this trigger. So now I've given myself acknowledgement and credence to my experience. And then in that moment, I can ask a question. Is it going to be effective for me to continue to think about this? And if the answer is yes, keep thinking about it. If the answer is no, then you're going to practice surrender in some form. It could be a physical action, open your posture. I don't like this. I can't change this. I can accept this. You can do the ride the wave skill of actually noticing your emotion and going back into your body. Just watch your emotion pick you up and set you back down, because if you don't do anything, that emotion will pass through you. That's what emotions do. But now you can observe the actual emotion rather than stay stuck in the rumination. So those are a couple of ways that you might just learn to practice dancing with your experience a little differently, rather than trying to hurry and get rid of it or kill it off.
The natural tendency is to turn to them with your thoughts and your actions in order to try to deal with those triggers. So when those triggers come, it's like, well, I need to go ask them, or where are they right now? What's going on? And notice what Tyler just said. Like, everything that Tyler just talked about was turning within to yourself and practicing some tools to regulate yourself, so that you can then get to a point of assessment with that trigger to say, is this something I need to address, or is this something I need to surrender? And if I need to surrender it, then I want more tools to learn how to surrender. And if I need to address it, then I want the tools to address it in a healthy way. But this is me. This is my work. And Tyler just gave some great tools in order to do that.
Yeah, I do think it's okay, depending on how it gets approached too. Like, I might go do all of that work on my own, and I still might approach my partner and say, hey, I had a really rough day today when I drove by, whatever the place.
Yeah, sure.
And just say, I just wanted to let you know I had a rough day, and I'd love a hug if you're in the right mood, or I just want you to know that I had a rough time. That's different than out of compulsion, like, hey, I just drove by this place. Tell me this again.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably not going to go very well for you guys. But it's okay to go and be vulnerable with your emotions, especially if you're starting to feel like you're with a partner who wants to work recovery. If you go on or you're vulnerable with your emotions and it's not held very well, that's going to just be more work for you, though, too.
Tyler, do you remember the check-ins that they used to do back in the day
Yeah.
at night? Oh, do you remember the like really unhealthy ones?
Well, see, that's the thing. In fact, you just reminded me. One of my groups asked me to talk about check-ins, so I'll have to do that this week now that you brought it up. But yeah, there's a healthy
Maybe
way.
our next episode we talk about healthy check-ins.
Matt, maybe we're doing another episode right after this. Maybe we'll just do that as the episode, Brannon. We actually should do that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, let's just jump. We'll end this episode and jump on to the next one that we're going to record right now and just do what's a good check-in.
okay. All right. I like that. We'll scrap our other topic and go with that one.
Yeah, I don't think we have time for it today to give it adequate attention in this episode because we're just at the end.
Yeah, so stay tuned. This is a 2-part series. And next episode we'll talk about check-ins. And until next time, keep on keeping on.